Hi everyone, this is Trish with Decant Sewing Co. And today we are going to make this beautiful casserole carrier. And this is for a long dish, a baking dish that's 9 by 13 or 15 inches. Mine is 13 and a half, I think. It's got Velcro, it's got Insufleece, and if you either have a lid or tinfoil on your baking dish, this will keep it warm or cold. So let's take some time together and sew this really awesome casserole cover. All right, here's what you're going to need to make the casserole carrier. You'll need the Pellon Insufleece or a similar product. You'll need some cotton batting, Velcro, and 2 different prints of cotton fabric. I'm using this pretty lemon fabric and then the yellow for my inside. And you're going to cut all of the fabric out at 41 inches by 34 inches. The Velcro, you're going to cut 2 strips at 7 inches and 2 strips at 4 inches. I made coordinating straps with my project. You can also use strap webbing, but for the strap, we need 72 inches of fabric measured 4 inches wide and make it like you were making a tote strap. And I have a video on that as well. The first step is for your inner fabric. That's the fabric that's going next to the Insufleece, and you'll have your Insufleece shiny side up. Just mark some grid lines. You can do it however you want to. I did mine 3 inches square. You can do squiggly lines. You can just quilt it, free motion quilting, whatever you need to do. But I'm going to pin mine together. I don't have any basting spray right now, but you could certainly baste it, then put your lines on here, and then sew your quilting on. So I'm going to pin this, and then I'm going to sew all the lines, and we'll move on to the next step. Alrighty, I have the grid lines sewn on the inner with the Insufleece. Next, I'm going to do the outer fabric onto the batting. So I've pinned it together, and instead of doing a grid, I am just going to do wavy lines for something different for the outside with yellow thread. I'll do that and I'll be back in a few minutes. I got the top of this one quilted and I laid it out and made sure all of the sides were even and neat on both pieces. For this step, you'll put right sides together. So you'll have the Insufleece facing down and the batting on the top, and then pin it together. What you'll do next is pin a few safety pins or straight pins, leaving the corners unpinned because we're going to draw a square on each corner next. Lay your project so the short side is at the top, the long side is facing this way, so you'll have your 34-inch side at your top here. And what you'll do is you'll measure 12 inches down and draw a line, and 11 inches over and draw a line. So this is 11 inches from the corner, and this is 12 inches down from the top. I've marked both of the top corners the same way, 11 inches wide and 12 inches down. Next, turn your project around and do the same thing. Mark 11 inches in from the top, 12 inches down, and mark a square on both sides. Now cut away each corner. I'll do that and be right back. After you've cut out your corners, make sure your now longer sides are at the top, shorter sides are at the left and right, top and bottom for these. Put 2 clips in. You're going to sew around the whole entire thing except for this 8-inch opening. So I always put a green clip in for go and a red clip in for stop. So let's sew a 1/2 inch seam all around it except for the opening. Okay, next, take your pins out, of course. And then here I've marked one of the corners just so you can see it better. And what you'll do on all 4 of the what we call inside corners, you're going to snip it just to the stitch line. Don't go into the stitch line. And then just take some fabric off on each side. So we'll do this on all 4 sides and we'll move on to the next step. The inside corners will look like this when you're done. Next, I have the outside corner. So there's 8 of these. I just marked it so you can see where I'm working at here. And you'll cut the point off and just a little bit of the fabric like this without cutting into your stitches on all 8 corners. Next, take your project to the iron on a low heat, not high. Just fold your opening and press them back. Then turn your project right side out using whatever you have, a chopstick. I have a broken knitting needle. I'm going to just turn everything right side out and we'll move on. When it's right side out, just go around with your tool, whatever you're using to make your corners look good, and just poke them out without poking through, which you shouldn't because it's a 1/2 inch seam. And then we'll take it to the iron, and on low, you'll press it. After it's all pressed, take it to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam around the whole entire thing. I always start at the opening, and I also lengthened my stitch length to a 3. We're not quite done, but here's my Pyrex dish. I'm going to put the flaps to show you how nicely it fits. Next, we're going to affix the Velcro to the carrier. So on the shorter sides, you'll measure 2 inches over on the sides, and on one of the sides, you're going to put the soft Velcro. On one of the longer sides of the inside, you're going to measure over 3 inches and affix your Velcro. And then you're going to turn it over, and on the outside, the pretty side I'm going to call it, measure 3 inches over and put your scratchy Velcro, the hard stuff, measure 3 inches over on each one, and on this side, so 2 inches over on this one. I want to explain the Velcro just because it was not as clear as I wanted it to be. So on 2 of the sides, one long side of the yellow and the short side of the yellow, you're going to put the 4-inch soft Velcro on the short side and the 7-inch soft Velcro on the longer side. Then you're going to flip it over. On the opposite sides, you're going to put the 7-inch scratchy sided Velcro on the long side and the shorter scratchy Velcro, the 4-inch on the short side. So when we fold it with the Pyrex dish in it, you'd go and this, and there you have it. We have one more step to do, which is the handles. I made my own strap. I'm not going to use strap webbing, which you certainly could. So you have, it's 2 yards, 72 inches. So to make this strap, I used 4 inches wide fabric, 4-inch wide fabric, folded it in half and pressed it, folded the raw edges to the center and pressed it, and then put batting in the center, and I cut that just under 2 inches wide, and then I sewed it together. And I do have a video on how to make straps. So we're going to sew this in a loop and make sure that it's not twisted, that it's all flat. So I'm going to make one end, fold it over, and then the other end so it looks very neat when it's sewn together. I'll show you in just a second. Okay, excuse me, Lola. On the outside panel, you're going to mark 3 inches in from the short side. So your long sides at the top, your short sides are left and right. Mark a line 3 inches in, basically where the Velcro is. Fold your panel in half, mark the center, and draw a line. Next, take your strap, and without making sure it's not twisted, and put a crease at the end. I put a clip on here. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll place the pretty side, because one side's pretty ugly, the other side, right at this center line and pin it. When you have your strap laid so that your center and your sewn center is on the center line that you drew. Next, take a ruler and measure 4 inches down and 4 inches up and draw a line here, and then I've pinned it beneath those lines and above those lines, and then sew a rectangle. And I'm going to go over that twice and make sure you, of course, that you do a back stitch at start and stop. Check this out. We have a completed casserole cover that will keep your dish warm or cold because we used the Insulfleece. It's got these cute handles. Awesome. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Thanks everybody for watching. I sure do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and follow. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. As a bonus video, in addition to the casserole carrier, we had these leftover squares. They're perfect size for a cat to sit on. We could make pot holders. I've made pot holders in another video. So I've got some friends at work who have cats, and I'm going to make their cat something to sit on. So I've evened them up, and I'm going to put them right sides together and leave an opening just enough, about 4 inches, to turn it right side out. I'm going to sew a 1/2-inch seam all the way around except for this opening. After it's sewn together, just trim off each corner without cutting your cat's tail off if they're around. And then next, sprinkle some catnip in there. Rub it in real good. That's not for you. That's too much. And then we're going to turn it right side out. Okay, once you get it turned right side out and your corners out, then press it with a low to medium iron and then do a top stitch around it at a 3-stitch length. Okay, the catnip placemat is done. Any chance that Lola can swipe at Brady, she's going to do it. Be nice. It's nice to see Brady in the sewing room.